It was clearly a bright, sunny day. Yet a powerful black thunderbolt tore through the sky and struck the boy with perfect precision. From then on, whenever the boy held something like a sword, even if it was only a wooden stick, he would hear the whisper of a demon in his ear. Sasuke, who was born in a back alley of the slums, was especially obsessed with swords. He would often stand outside the blacksmith's shop, admiring the treasured blade he longed for. Seeing him like that, his childhood friend Mina boldly said she would buy it for him. But that sword was priced at a staggering 5 gold coins. Even if they worked for 10 years without eating or drinking, they still could not afford it. Mina complained that this scrap metal would probably never sell in a back alley like this. The old blacksmith angrily scolded that this was not something trash from their alley should be looking at. Mina was not polite at all and asked whether the old blacksmith had gone senile. The sword was hanging in the back alley, so of course only people from here could see it. Sasuke pulled away Mina, who still wanted to argue. The old blacksmith truly could not understand why Mina's tongue was so vicious. He had clearly given her so much food before. But when he lowered his head, he saw a shocking sight. The footprint where Sasuke had been standing had already sunk deep into the ground. If you place your dreams here, in the end, the only one who will suffer is yourself. The old blacksmith knew that being born in the back alley meant one was destined never to escape it. So he would only sell this sword to someone capable of leaving this place. He absolutely could not let his final work rot away in a place like this. Sasuke was nothing more than a shop assistant selling timed candles at a brothel. The proprietress was Marcella, known as the Smiling Rose. Only under the protection of the retired knight Jorge could they survive in the filthy slum district. The darkness in life always sneaks in quietly from the shadows. One day, a group from a hostile faction came to cause trouble. Their leader was none other than One-Armed Jack the Miser, one of the 5 bosses of the slums. The other 4 bosses were Jorge, Knight of the Prostitutes, Black Bear the Pig Butcher, the Fat Man of the Entertainment District, and Captain Hoover the Whale Hunter. Jack was always thinking about annexing the other factions and ruling the slums. Now he had merely used the excuse of negotiations to come and pick a fight. He asked Sasuke where the boss here was. Sasuke said nothing and looked at him calmly. One of the lackeys beside him angrily shouted if Sasuke had gone deaf. Sasuke only found him noisy. He calmly said he was just a candle seller and knew nothing. Don't know? Then go find them and bring them here. The lackey knocked over all the candles with one slap, and the sight made everyone else break into a cold sweat. Sasuke only sighed, saying it looked like there would be no business today. That attitude made the lackey tremble with rage. Buddy, you stepped on my candles. Sasuke's words made him freeze for a moment. Move your foot, can't you understand? He could no longer hold back and cursed as he viciously kicked toward Sasuke. Conflict is a miniature of war. Choose the battlefield well and predict the situation in advance. With one strike, Sasuke broke the other man's shin. He knew that only decisive killing intent could lock in victory. This was the eternal law of survival in the back alleys. The winner stands above, the loser below. Jack revealed a meaningful smile. He stopped the lackeys who were about to step forward. Sasuke suited his tastes very well. I'm one-armed, so when I clap, it only sounds like this. Please excuse me. It's fine. I don't discriminate against the disabled. Jack burst into laughter and called Sasuke a crazy brat. I'll settle the score with you privately later. At that moment, a rough voice interrupted the scene. Miser, what business do you have coming to my place? There were still customers here, so Jorge told Jack to go upstairs and talk first. Both men's eyes were full of hostility. Jack turned and led his lackeys toward the second floor. Only then did Sasuke let out a breath, because he had nearly lost his life just now. Soon, Jack's voice sounded again. He invited Sasuke to join under him. But this place provides meals and lodging, and it also pays me, Sasuke said, making Jack laugh loudly. Jack casually flicked a gold coin to Sasuke. He promised that if Sasuke came under him, he would give him as much as he wanted. After saying that, he left without even turning his head. Seeing how generous he was, Sasuke guessed the negotiation had probably gone well. Jorge told Mina to call Sasuke upstairs. The atmosphere on the second floor was especially heavy. It was not hard to tell that Jorge and Jack's negotiation had broken down. Jorge took out the dagger he had originally planned to give Sasuke on his birthday, and told him to remember to carry it with him at all times. Jack had an enormous organization under him, but even so, Jorge, with his knightly background, remained a towering wall Jack could hardly surmount. However, he had hired a swordsman of knight level, and the balance was instantly broken. From now on, Sasuke would no longer need to sell candles. Very soon, Jorge would give him his first task. Before the task began, Sasuke intensified his sword training. The moment he swung the stick in his hand, that voice sounded by his ear again. When swinging downward, it seems your elbow angle should be tightened a bit more. Sasuke could not help feeling annoyed. It seemed he should buy holy water before buying a sword. He shook his head, forced himself to focus, and concentrated wholeheartedly. Gathering all his mind and strength together, he poured everything into a downward strike. That voice suddenly appeared and ordered Sasuke to tighten. Sasuke involuntarily swung the sword exactly as instructed. This feeling was completely different. If before he had merely been waving it, then this time he had carved out an actual sword path. What exactly had gotten into his head? Deep in the mountains, a man was wiping the sword in his hand. At that moment, the cry of a cuckoo came from not far away. The man let out a cold laugh and walked toward the source of the sound. From the shadows, Sasuke asked if he was Stanga. Only after the man confirmed it did Sasuke reveal himself. With his blonde hair and blue eyes, Stanga almost mistook Sasuke for a noble. Sasuke handed over the letter Jorge had given him. A hostile organization had hired a mercenary with a knightly background, so they were asking for his help. Sasuke would lead the way, and they could arrive by tomorrow night. Stanga complained that he did not know whether following a brat was reliable. Sasuke said that at least when it came to leading the way, he was very good at it. A guy making migratory bird sounds in broad daylight can't be that smart, right? If you lead me the wrong way halfway through, I'll definitely kill you. Sasuke told him to just follow him. He did not want to mess up his first mission either. Stanga had not expected that even though he deliberately revealed killing intent to intimidate him, Sasuke did not care at all. He really was the kind of guy Jorge would like. This brat looked like promising material. At night, the two rested in a cave. Sasuke still could not help looking at Stanga. It was his first time seeing a retired knight up close. Stanga mocked him for being such a country bumpkin. When Sasuke learned he came from Daijia, he sighed and said that place was the real countryside. Stanga said he might as well let Sasuke get lost and then finish him off. Sasuke took out food and asked him not to say such terrifying things. When Stanga saw such fresh jerky, he wanted some too. Sasuke asked in confusion whether he did not have any, since he himself had not brought much. Stanga's jerky was already shriveled up. Faced with the fragrant roasted meat, he drooled with greed. He asked Sasuke whether there was nothing he wanted to ask him. One strip of jerky can buy the answer to one question. A rare opportunity, you know. Chewing his jerky, Sasuke looked at Stanga and asked how many he wanted. If you want to eat, just say so. But a knight only accepted the payment he deserved, even if Stanga had already retired. Sasuke curiously asked whether he could wield aura. But not every knight could wield aura, and to apply aura in real combat was an entirely different matter. Sasuke immediately picked up all the roasted meat and gave it to Stanga. Stanga glanced at him, and met those eyes filled with expectation. Although a knight only accepted the payment he deserved, sometimes one also needed to be generous. He raised the sword in his hand, and slowly closed his left eye. Sasuke asked in confusion why he was closing his left eye. Because he had to summon forth the world deep within his soul that belonged only to him. Watch carefully, brat. This is the essence of knights. Stanga's left eye suddenly snapped open. The powerful pressure almost made Sasuke unable to keep his eyes open. This was true aura. After 2 days, Sasuke led Stanga without incident to the outskirts of the city. It was so quiet here that it made one's skin crawl. The two stopped at the same time. Stanga asked Sasuke seriously, "Was it always like this here? If not, then it seems the battle has already taken place." Sasuke told him about a back entrance known only to organization members, while he himself would go through the front entrance to draw the enemy's attention. When he rushed back to the shop, it was already in ruins. Jack had struck first. Jorge had not crossed swords with someone of knight level in a long time, so it was inevitable he had suffered some injuries. He asked Sasuke to confirm, "Did you bring the man?" Sasuke explained what he had seen outside the city, saying he should be arriving soon. "Then tomorrow we declare war on Jack. This time we'll settle it once and for all. By the way, how did Stanga look? He wasn't crippled, was he? He was safe and sound, and he looked fine." Jorge praised him, saying he did indeed have a bold side. After all, he's a knight who can use aura. Sasuke was confident that tomorrow's victory would stand on their side. Hearing that, Jorge was startled. Sasuke heard footsteps outside the door and knew Stanga was about to come upstairs. Jorge repeatedly asked Sasuke to confirm, was it really aura? But Sasuke had indeed seen it with his own eyes. Jorge told him to get behind him. The real Stanga cannot use aura. That left Sasuke stunned. If that guy was not Stanga, then who was he? "You've come quite far these years. It's been a long time, senior." the owner of the bloodstained sword he had been wiping in the deep mountains that day, was the real Stanga. Senior, you've changed so much. Jorge did not understand why he had still come looking for him. Count Gadel has passed away. Though, for complicated reasons, this matter has still not been made public. The world will soon know. A toast to dear Count Gadel. Jorge flew into a rage. You bastard. He stared at the reflection in his cup. As Jorge's heavy strike came down, that cold voice sounded again. And a toast as well to the new Count Gadel, Mr. Sigmund. Godin, you bastard. Jorge's sword slashed fiercely toward Godin. Deserter Knight Jorge, return immediately. This is Mr. Sigmund's first order. Sigmund is not my lord. Count Gadel did not think Jorge would obediently go back either, nor did he expect him to go back alive. The attacks of both men were incomparably fierce, and even their aftershocks alone posed grave danger to ordinary people. Marcella hurriedly dragged Sasuke out. Just as Sasuke was about to call for reinforcements, Jorge was blasted out from the room. Godin stood in the ruins like a grim reaper. You still made the foolish choice, Jorge. Jorge crashed heavily to the ground. His people hurried forward to support him. Godin watched the scene with a sinister gaze. A throwing knife flew rapidly toward him, but he blocked it casually. Sasuke was still too weak. Their eyes collided violently. Godin ignored him and charged straight downstairs. Jorge barely dodged that sword strike. He no longer had the strength to fight. So I'm saying, you should have obeyed orders that day, right? But Jorge was human, and he would never obey such a beastly order. No, you are a knight. This night had become too long for him. He wanted to rest. A powerful aura surged from within the sword. Sasuke hurried downstairs. As Godin slowly opened his left eye, lines of light appeared on everyone around him. In an instant, blinding light flooded the entire place. Sasuke looked at the scene in disbelief. Jorge no longer had any life left in him. He was the strongest person the boy had ever seen, and also the first person to extend a helping hand to a boy struggling in the back alleys, the one who acknowledged him more than anyone else. The blue moonlight that quietly descended cruelly shattered the boy's world. In fury, Sasuke seized Jorge's sword. Ignoring the warning of that voice in his head, he swung the sword in his hand at Godin with all his strength. Godin had not expected either that a brat from the gutter like this could actually swing out a sword path. What an amazing brat! Go to hell! Godin kicked Sasuke hard in the body. Sasuke had no power to resist at all and was sent flying. Even when receiving an attack, he instinctively twisted his body to avoid vital spots. What extraordinary talent! The voice in his head told Sasuke to keep breathing and not lose consciousness. Godin felt that cutting down such a fine seedling now would be a pity, even if he might one day become a sharp sword. Godin recalled Jorge's teachings. Paying attention to things with potential was always interesting. Boy who led the way for me, a knight only accepts the payment he deserves. My name is not Stanga, nor am I 42 years old. I took improper payment from you back then, so I'll return it now. But I'll take this with me. This is the payment I deserve, and also the right of the victor. Sasuke swore he would definitely kill him. Godin turned away disdainfully. Don't think of using your life to pay for a second piece of jerky. He left without looking back. Godin, I will kill you. Supporting Sasuke, Mina fled outward step by step. The wound in his abdomen made every step unbearable agony. He recalled Marcella's words. At that time, he had stood there like a soul stripped from his body. Marcella sternly asked him if he wanted to die here. She slapped Sasuke hard across the face. Get a hold of yourself, brat. Do you know the difference between the people living across the street and people like us from the back alleys? It's opportunity. Even if those people fail once, they can stand back up again, because they have the room to do so. This is what happens to us when we only experience one failure. Once we fail, we die. That is fate. So you must never miss the one and only chance you have. Sasuke's eyes grew more and more resolute. This could not end here. He had to leave the city as soon as possible. The pursuers discovered them again. Their hideout had completely collapsed. Now, even a fledgling bird had to learn how to fly. The lackey who had caused trouble that day swore to return the humiliation he had suffered 100-fold. Hearing the footsteps outside the door, the two dared not even breathe. Sasuke realized that if this continued, there was no way they could escape. He told Mina to stay here, and when things quieted down, to head to the convent. But Mina wanted to leave with him. Before that, Mina had promised Marcella that once she helped Sasuke reach a place where he was more or less safe, she would run. But Mina simply refused to honor it. Idiot, do you think I can protect you in the state I'm in now? Just as the two were arguing, a voice suddenly startled them. Mina hurriedly raised her knife. The old blacksmith asked in confusion how they had ended up here. Mina nervously told the old man not to move. He suspected Mina had taken the wrong medicine, suddenly sneaking into his house and telling him not to move. I already warned you, be careful or I really will strike to kill. For a moment, silence fell over the scene. The old blacksmith more or less understood what was going on and told Mina to put that frightening thing down first. Mina gritted her teeth and, pretending to stay calm, told the old blacksmith to bring the sword. For a moment he did not know what she was talking about. That sword hanging there, even outside the city, it's not safe now. I'm not joking, please give that to us. Sasuke told Mina to put the knife down. But Mina only kept urging the old blacksmith to hand over the sword quickly. This was the nature of people who survived in the back alleys. Only by taking could they stay alive. That was how the old blacksmith had lived too. And now it was that brat's turn. How tragic. Mina was thoroughly enraged now as well, and raised the knife in her hand. Sasuke hurriedly tried to stop her. The old blacksmith simply closed his eyes. But Mina only cut off the red hair he treasured most. Though this surely isn't enough. I swear I'll pay you back in the future, so please give the sword to Sasuke. The old blacksmith was stunned too. He asked Sasuke whether he was leaving. Sasuke really was leaving. It seemed that the thing he had dreamed about his entire life but never accomplished, this brat was trying to do with his still undeveloped wings. You two brats really know how to trouble an old man. Come with me. Before long, a garbage cart was rolling down a small path toward outside the city. Who would have thought those vicious bastards had even blocked this place? They wondered why the old man was throwing out garbage at this hour. Damn bastards, you've been killing each other non-stop lately and blocking the alleys. All that useless junk is about to overflow the blacksmith shop. At that moment, the others noticed the person behind the garbage cart. After all, the old man usually worked alone. I don't have enough strength, so I used a loaf of bread to get him to help me. Otherwise, were you going to help me push it? Since he was the only blacksmith in the back alleys, they should treat him with respect. But they still had to check this guy. The man lifted Mina's hood. Mina, filthy all over, complained, "It's really hard just to beg for a meal." The old blacksmith cursed and was about to leave. But the man told another dark-skinned fellow to check the cart, while he himself continued searching for the blonde brat. Both of them were shocked. The dark-skinned fellow looked toward the cart and seemed to notice something. Don't be upset, this is my job, after all. I heard Haven prepared a small boat by the river. Right now all our people have gathered over there. Because everyone thought a half-crippled man wouldn't prepare a boat by the river for no reason. I'm just letting you know. It turned out that the dark-skinned man's younger brother had once been arrested for theft, and Sasuke had spent 40 silver coins to save him. The 40 silver coins my younger brother owed, let's call them repaid now. In his heart, Sasuke thanked daughter. The garbage cart arrived at the place where trash was dumped outside the city. Goodbye, Sasuke. Take care of yourself. The boy clutched that star tightly, a thing condensed from the old man's dreams, and bought with the girl's tears. Perhaps in the future it would shine brilliantly in the boy's hands. Sasuke came to a cave outside the city. He raised the sword in his hand and asked who the voice in his head really was. But that voice did not know either. That's fine too. Let's help each other. I'll help you recover your memories, and you teach me swordsmanship. Even if you're a demon, I don't care. Because what Sasuke truly feared was his own useless self. Fine, then I will teach you my swordsmanship. Under the guidance of the sword spirit, Sasuke's strength improved rapidly. He killed the mercenary Lyman, who had stolen things, and took over his identity, becoming an externally hired mercenary of the Bayezid family. Relying on his outstanding ability, Sasuke soon became the captain of a squad of 10 mercenaries, leading his team on missions to exterminate small goblins. But on this day, a giant goblin appeared. This was an opponent ordinary mercenaries could never defeat no matter what. In the blink of an eye, several mercenaries lost their lives. The other mercenaries hurriedly retreated. Their master cut down a soldier who was retreating with one slash. He roared that anyone who stepped back would die. Yet he himself hid behind the others, not daring to step forward. At that moment, only Sasuke was moving against the flow and going forward. By now he was respectfully known as Lyman of Prayer. Without the slightest hesitation, he charged at the giant goblin. But he still could not achieve the one-hit kill the sword spirit kept talking about. The sword spirit cursed Sasuke for being an idiot, saying he had clearly taught him already. Sasuke got annoyed and said that if one could learn everything the moment it was taught, wouldn't that make him a genius? The goblin's attacks kept crashing down, but Sasuke still dodged them all with ease. That only enraged the goblin completely. It brought down a full-powered blow with brutal force. When the dust cleared, Sasuke was nowhere to be seen. A certain presence made the goblin shudder uncontrollably. This time I must kill it in one strike. Sasuke successfully cut off the giant goblin's head. His outstanding performance attracted the attention of Joseph, second son of the Bayezid family. He had seen the small goblin Sasuke killed when he had first arrived. There had been no skill to speak of at all. At a glance one could tell it was the work of a brat who had only recently learned swordsmanship. The ones on the other side were also equally crude and clumsy. But the farther he went forward, the more intact the goblins looked. He suddenly realized that all of these were the same sword mark. Shocked, he asked his subordinate Gile, could these all really be the work of the same person? Gile gave an affirmative answer. And among them, the earliest magical beast had died a month ago. To change so greatly in just 1 month was truly unbelievable. He ordered Gile to thoroughly investigate this person's background. The family's power struggles were extremely fierce. The current family head had only succeeded in rising to power by killing his own younger brother. Joseph's elder brother was eyeing the position of family head hungrily. At present, Joseph had only one sword in his hand, Gile. He needed even more sharp swords to help him seize power. To grow to such a level in just 1 month, in Joseph's eyes, that was true genius. The reason Sasuke was called Liman of Prayer was simply because after every battle he would go to some deserted corner and pray. This pleasing sight made others mistakenly think he was from a fallen noble family. In truth, Sasuke was only quietly talking with the sword spirit. He genuinely could not understand what the sword spirit meant by the mystery of a one-hit kill. The sword spirit told him it was just like, pick up the sword with a paw, lean your body forward, and then the other side would go swish. Sasuke complained whether the sword spirit really expected him to understand such words. The others behind him also began imitating him and praying silently. Early in the morning, Sasuke looked at the rotten meat on the table and grumbled inwardly. A master who even provided meals already counted as conscientious. Only the Bayezid family had that kind of strength. Sasuke had no appetite and turned to go find the priest to pray. One of the team members sighed, maybe I should go pray too? Another mocked him, the moment you say maybe I should too, there's already no hope for you. Sasuke sincerely bowed to Priest Andre. Andre had heard that Sasuke had also gone to pray last night and said it must have been cold. When one is in the Lord's embrace, what does cold matter? At that moment, Andre's breakfast had just been prepared. He pressed Sasuke down and told him to eat together. As usual, they offered a prayer before the meal. Andre secretly glanced at Sasuke. He was simply too sincere, even in the lowliest of places. Andre decided he must properly guide this young man who would spend his whole life rushing from one bloody battlefield to another. After all, that too counted as a God-given bond. Andre mentioned Sasuke's outstanding swordsmanship. 2 days ago, Sir Gile had come here and asked all sorts of things about Sasuke. So Andre had recommended Sasuke. Hearing this news, Sasuke did not feel happy in the slightest. It seemed his performance had been too conspicuous, but only through real combat could he grasp the sword spirit's swordsmanship. The real problem was that he had gotten too close to the priest. Still, Sasuke could finally confirm that the sword spirit was not an evil person. He planned to leave tonight. Causing harm plus forging an identity would absolutely bring severe punishment. The sword spirit reminded him that he probably could not escape now. Something was approaching from behind, and from its bearing it was at least a high-ranking knight. Sasuke quickly assumed a defensive stance. Gile was somewhat surprised. Had he sensed his presence? He had a bit more ability than expected. Gile had only come to escort Sasuke to meet Lord Joseph. Sasuke knew that if he left the stage now, he would be completely finished. In a card game, an unmoving expression is an invincible move. A brat still wet behind the ears was remaining so calm in front of him. Interesting. Meanwhile, Sasuke was considering whether he should just run now. The sword spirit told him to give up that idea. A knight of that level would not let him take a third step before his head hit the ground first. It is an honor to meet you, Lord Joseph. With his blonde hair and blue eyes, Sasuke almost made Joseph think he was the son of some noble family. He asked Sasuke if his name was Lyman. Sasuke calmly affirmed it. A hard slap landed across Sasuke's face. I should have told you in advance. I absolutely detest lies. Sasuke of the Sierra slums. Joseph had investigated that Sasuke's mother was a prostitute, but as for who his father was, there was no way to know. Do you know who your father is? Your joke is really amusing. To ask a prostitute's child who his father is. Another kick landed on Sasuke's leg. Gile warned him to show respect to his betters. Joseph had found out everything about Sasuke, but he did not understand where Sasuke had learned his swordsmanship. Sasuke remained silent and said nothing. Brat, too many things are hidden in your eyes. Behind him, Giles drew his sword. Sasuke truly had no choice. It was taught to me by a master who came like dew and went like wind. That person never told me his name, and only said his swordsmanship was a secret not to be revealed to anyone. There was not the slightest wavering in Sasuke's eyes. I'm sorry, I was too rude to you just now. Sasuke had not expected that to actually work. Sasuke of Sayara, do you want to climb to a place higher than where you are now? Power, freedom, survival, knighthood, and things like those. I, Joseph Bayezid, want to become your support. Just like that, Sasuke became an attendant to Sir Giles. In the eyes of others, this counted as a complete reversal of fate. But Giles sneered at his strength. Arrogant brat. With only this much strength, you still dared act so righteous before Lord Joseph. You really have no sense of your place. Sasuke also knew the two of them were not on the same level. Giles' attacks were too fierce, there was no way to dodge them. Since that was the case, then he would not dodge. He barely managed to receive Giles' sword, used the momentum to release the force downward, and successfully blocked that strike. Then he seized the chance to counterattack Giles. Although it was still casually blocked, being able to block even one strike was already enough to astonish. At this level, in Giles' eyes, he was barely acceptable. Only Sasuke knew that it was not because he had succeeded, but because this man had allowed him to block it. Giles demanded that every morning and evening they spar this way. That's enough for morning training today. Don't let your body grow too lax. Sasuke complained inwardly that the man was truly ungenerous and would not even give him a word of advice. The sword spirit sighed that it had been a splendid spar. He mercilessly shaved away all the useless burden on you. Even taking a beating can yield gains. There truly was no one anywhere who would back him up. After hearing Giles' report, Joseph became even more convinced that he had not misjudged him. Giles still thought Sasuke was too overconfident. But after all, being born in the back alleys, it's understandable if he lacks manners. Things like etiquette can be taught slowly. Now the matter before Joseph finally had a suitable person to handle it. Giles still believed an unfaithful sword could not be trusted. If he had lowered his head respectfully the moment he saw me, I wouldn't have trusted him either. It's actually a good thing that he clearly stated his intentions. Sasuke directly stated that there was something he absolutely had to do. That is even better. A relationship of mutual use may suit them better. Don't you think his arrogant, untrustworthy, self-righteous look is very much like a wolf? Joseph did not want to act too hastily. After all, it would take time before their power grew so great that even wolves would mistake it for freedom. At night, Got shivered while standing guard in the snow. He had not expected Sasuke to become Giles' attendant. Before, he had invited Sasuke to join forces, using Sasuke's strength and his own brains to do something big together, but Sasuke had mercilessly refused him. He directly asked Sasuke whether he could keep using that fake mercenary tag. He knew someone whose forgery skills were good enough to make perfect counterfeits. Sasuke warned him that people with loose lips tended to lose their heads. Got shuddered all over, and hurriedly explained that he only felt Sasuke's talent was a pity and meant no harm. Now Got regretted that he should have urged him to leave earlier. At that moment, a patrolling knight arrived and asked Got whether there was anything unusual. Reporting to Lord Roderick, there is nothing unusual here. Then stay alert and keep up the good work. As soon as Roderick left, Got leaned against a tree and began dozing off. Just as his consciousness grew hazy, Roderick's voice startled him awake. The other man, all alone, seemed to be talking to someone unknown, repeating "I am not your child," and then walked in the opposite direction from the camp. As Got was wondering what was happening, he saw black mist begin appearing around Roderick, gradually condensing into a grimacing ghostly face. At dawn, Sasuke's entire body ached from being tormented by Giles. A tiny voice called out to him. Got stood behind a tree and waved at him furtively. After making sure no one was around, Got kindly said he wanted to take Sasuke with him to escape tonight. The forest we are subjugating is a cursed forest. The treatment is good and the work environment is decent. Yet until now there have still been quite a few deserters. They were all taken away by the forest. They are not deserters, but missing people. I saw a ghost leading people into the forest. What kind of nonsense are you babbling? Sasuke raised a hand, about to slap him. Got hurriedly said that even Sir Roderick had gone missing. And on the way back, he had inquired around a bit, and found that all those currently missing were black-haired. Only then did Sasuke take the matter seriously. Got regretted it bitterly. Not only had Sasuke not run away with him, he had even reported the matter to Lord Joseph. Now he could only be forced to walk in front and lead the way. Giles asked Sasuke, "Is that guy trustworthy?" "Not trustworthy, but he's not insane either." Lord Joseph thought this matter was an opportunity. Compared with an ordinary achievement like exterminating monsters, discovering a strange phenomenon would be more useful in establishing prestige within the family. But Joseph also had black hair, so Giles was somewhat worried for his safety. The other 3 knights in the camp were all useless. But with even Roderick missing, someone stronger than him had to take action. Not long after, they reached the encampment of the extermination force. Giles ordered them to search the surroundings in groups of 3. As the sun was about to set, they still had found nothing. Now only the opposite side of the river remained unsearched. Giles ordered the mercenaries to gather and cross the river. Winter was nearly over, and ice of this thickness could only be crossed in batches. At that moment, however, Got absolutely refused to move forward. He had a bad feeling. Sasuke said he was just scared. Of course I'm scared. I'm not like you amazing people. The only reason I survive is because my instincts are a bit sharp. And right now, my instincts are telling me not to cross that river. Sasuke may not understand instincts, but there is one thing he can be sure of. If you become a deserter now, you'll die a miserable death. If the only witness leaves the scene, then even I would hang you up and beat you. Crossing the river is your only way to live now. Got was forced to step trembling onto the ice. The nameless terror in his heart made him collapse onto the ice, unwilling to get up. Helpless, Sasuke bent down to pull him up. Suddenly Got let out a piercing scream. Beneath the ice were the corpses of their former companions. At the riverbed, countless corpses began to boil upward. The ice started trembling violently. A pale hand broke through the surface, and then countless corpses began crawling out one after another. They were surrounded by a tide of the dead. Giles realized at once that this was a carefully prepared trap aimed specifically at them. The sun completely set, taking away the last trace of light. The darkness of night belonged to the revelry of the dead. Priest Andre's body could not stop trembling. Even the holy water at his side had begun to boil. A figure appeared outside the camp. Its mouth kept repeating, "Where is my child?" Sasuke was frantically cutting down corpses, but there were simply too many of them. The target of this trap was very clear. It wanted to hold Giles back and go after Joseph. There was no time to hesitate. Giles erupted with powerful aura and forcibly tore open a gap in the tide of corpses. Sasuke of Shoyara, fulfill the contract. Lord Giles, what should I do? Return to the camp at once. Until I get back, you must hold the line no matter what. Protect Lord Joseph according to the contract. Come with me, Got. At this moment, a disturbance broke out in the camp. Knight Borden rushed into Joseph's tent in a panic. Joseph asked what was making such a commotion, but the man could not explain it clearly. So you came to report to me without even understanding the situation? Borden used the excuse that the top priority was to ensure Lord Joseph's safety. Then how do you still have the nerve to come without even bringing your sword? Only then did Borden notice that he had not brought his sword. You really do envy my brother, don't you? If I were him, your head would already be gone. Borden hurriedly apologized. At that moment, the other 2 knights and the priest also arrived together. Andre explained that what had come was an evil thing. This was a Bible written with sacred ink. The sentences on it were trembling like sieves, which showed that this was no ordinary being. I am not an exorcist priest, but I will try to exert as much holy power as I can. However, in front of something so evil, it may not be of much help. Among the remaining knights, none had ever truly carved out a place for themselves. But right now, they could only rely on them. Fog spread outside the camp. All the black-haired men fell into hallucinations. Joseph instantly realized that the fog was poisonous, a curse aimed specifically at him. That terrifying female ghost was still looking for her child. She seemed to sense Joseph within the crowd, and her steps halted. Is it there? At last I've found you, my child. The priest Sim temporarily held the female ghost back, but they would not be able to hold her much longer. Other than Giles, no one could deal with it. 2 of the knights had already fallen unconscious after being infected by the curse. The acolyte had reached his limit, and the hymn would soon be interrupted. They probably would not last until tomorrow's sunrise. At that moment, Sasuke appeared and charged at the female ghost. Aura was actually shimmering around him. Sasuke had returned to the camp only 2 minutes earlier. That moving curse could not be harmed by ordinary swords at all. There was only one last method left, but the sword spirit needed to borrow Sasuke's body for a while. As long as it could release aura, there would be a chance to break the curse. But given Sasuke's physical strength, enduring that power would probably be extremely difficult. If they failed to destroy the ghost, death was certain anyway. This too was a path of the sword. Sasuke chose to let the sword spirit use aura. because he had promised Joseph, and because he had things he absolutely had to do, so he would offer faith rather than loyalty. The sword spirit respected his choice. The female ghost let out a roar at Sasuke, and in his eyes appeared scenes from the ghost's life. The sword spirit ordered him to close his right eye. Sasuke heard the world of sound. Brilliant aura bloomed in his eyes. Countless bolts of lightning appeared around him. At an unimaginable speed, he cut straight through the female ghost. Immediately after, pain like being shattered to pieces swept through Sasuke's entire body. Joseph cried out Sasuke's name in shock, wanting him to stay conscious. Though he did not know how Sasuke had managed to use aura, he understood that Sasuke must have paid an enormous price. But the female ghost had not been completely destroyed. Joseph ordered that the hymn must not stop, and he himself rushed toward Sasuke. He lifted Sasuke up, trying to return to the protected area of the hymn. But the female ghost grabbed his ankle, and he angrily cursed this weak body for not being able to break free even from this. At that moment, a hand grabbed Joseph from behind. It was actually Knight Borden stepping forward. He threw both of them toward the priest. For the first time, Joseph felt grateful that Borden was by his side. Sasuke asked the priest to bless his sword. That woman had to be sent away. Andre coated the sword with his own blood. This was already the most substantial blessing possible. Sasuke walked toward the woman with firm steps. She was still begging Sasuke to help her find her child. Although it had lasted only an instant just now, before Sasuke's eyes had appeared scenes from the woman's life. Women imprisoned in a dim underground prison, and frail children placed on the cold ground. And this woman crying out over the child before her as it gradually grew cold. A terrible memory. For her, death was the best release. Rest in peace. As Sasuke's sword thrust downward, the woman returned to the appearance she had in life, and perhaps at last she could reunite with her child. Somewhere deep in the forest, the malicious will controlling the curse dissipated. The dark mage had no idea who had done it. The intelligence had clearly said that only one knight there could use aura, and he could no longer escape either. Gile had found him, the rat who manipulated the curse. Not long afterward, Gile returned carrying his severed head to report to Joseph. The child in the wooden box was the core of the curse. Joseph ordered that once they returned to Belna, they would begin investigating the matter. The extermination mission had been completely ruined. Gile asked Joseph whether that guy had managed to help at all, and Joseph said they may have found someone who could become a sword in his place. That brat was a sword of incomparable brilliance. 3 days later, Sasuke woke up in bed. The other team members had all fled without a trace. Only Got, who had wanted to desert, remained waiting for Sasuke to wake up. It was he who had carried Sasuke back to camp since Sasuke could not ride a horse, and then returned once more to that dangerous place to help the knight. He asked Sasuke to please say a few good words for him. Sasuke helplessly agreed that he would mention him. Sasuke went to Joseph's tent. Joseph first expressed his thanks to him. After all, Sasuke could have just run away directly. Although it had only been a verbal contract, this upright young man had still fulfilled it. That was the kind of integrity he absolutely had to possess. Now it was Joseph's turn to fulfill the contract. Regarding this incident, he would give Sasuke the payment he deserved and formally invite him into the Bayezid family. The next day, everyone returned to Belna. Gile dismissed all the mercenaries. The extermination report would still take about another day. It was Sasuke's first time entering a large city, and he looked around with curiosity. Gile mocked him for being a country bumpkin. Joseph gave Sasuke a day off and let him stroll around the city. Then a junior priest brought an invitation from Priest Andre. He brought Sasuke to a magnificent church. The luxurious decorations left Sasuke somewhat dazed. Although everyone called him Lyman of Prayer, he had never truly prayed in a proper way. The priest appeared behind him. He handed Sasuke something. It was a brand new identity plate. Documents validated by the church carried the strongest authority. After all, the Lord's grace spread across the whole continent. The guarantor listed on it was none other than Priest Andre, who kindly told Sasuke to come find him anytime he encountered difficulties. A back alley boy who had not even possessed household registration recorded his own name in the vast world before a sincere guarantor. From now on, he would no longer be a nameless person of the back alleys, but Sasuke of Shoyara. The territory of Count Bayezid covered 3 cities and 12 villages. Shoyara, the logistics hub. Balna, the religious center. And before him now, the capital city, Sturma. From this moment on, Sasuke alone was a guest of Lord Joseph. Gile ordered them not to do anything foolish that would damage Lord Joseph's reputation, and not to eat the refreshments given by the maids either, lest overeating make a bad impression. The two arrived at the reception room. The person behind the curtain thought they were lazy servants. As the man's figure approached, Sasuke froze. The person before him had a face extremely similar to Joseph's, but his presence was on an entirely different level. It was as if he could cut people with his gaze alone. God hurriedly explained his own identity. The man's gaze turned toward Sasuke, and Sasuke calmly introduced himself. Just look at this fellow. His eyes are frighteningly bright, and he still stands straight before me without the slightest timidity. Looks like Joseph found a useful person somewhere. I like him. Want some peanuts? Sasuke refused him, because someone had said that one was not allowed to eat anything here. Cold sweat poured from God in fright. The first thing Sasuke of Shoyara did upon arriving at the Bayezid family was reject the peanuts kindly offered by Rutger, the Count's eldest son. Joseph was currently reporting this extermination mission to his father, and also mentioned matters concerning Sasuke. Aside from Giles, whom his mother had given him, Joseph had no other extraordinary people around him. If he could cultivate that fellow into an outstanding knight of the Bayezid family, his father promised he would reward him. His father clearly knew that Joseph's strength was not the sword. He reminded his son not to forget that this was Bayezid, where force reigns supreme. After finishing his report, Joseph limped away. A father's love was always difficult to voice. He told his aide to prepare some medicine and send it to Joseph, and also to thoroughly investigate who was behind the curse, daring to commit such evil upon his territory. The Bayezids were fully prepared to eliminate anyone who hindered them by whatever means necessary. If you dare threaten my son and disturb my land, then be ready for a fate worse than death. Joseph rewarded God with a job managing the stables, and next he wanted to have a proper talk with Sasuke. Sasuke said he had something he absolutely had to do, and Joseph believed the implication was that he needed freedom. But drawing one's sword and charging for him was fundamentally at odds with wanting freedom. This matter had to be clarified before any further discussion. Joseph asked Sasuke what he intended to do once he had freedom. Bathed in pure moonlight, he looked incomparably solemn and majestic. Sasuke recalled the cold light hidden in that man's eyes. He asked Joseph whether he knew Godin of Gadel, the knight like moonlight. Not for a single moment had he forgotten. The man who had killed his benefactor and destroyed the world he once lived in. Joseph had thought Sasuke was merely a brat with some talent. He had not expected him to have such an unusual background. He sincerely said there was nothing he could do, for those people's power was no weaker than the Bayezid families. That too was within Sasuke's expectations. After all, Joseph was only the Count's son. To make it up to Sasuke, he revised the contract term to 7 years. You probably don't fully understand, but I am basically putting down my noble pride right now. Remember this, I have made a painful decision to do this. Giles stared at Sasuke with a menacing expression. Joseph promised Sasuke a bright future. Over 7 years, he would train Sasuke into an outstanding and excellent knight. The condition was that Sasuke had to pledge loyalty to him and only do what he allowed. As for matters concerning the back alleys, he would help Sasuke to some extent. The child named Mina at the convent would also receive care. Early the next morning, Giles brought Sasuke to his residence. All the attendants here were sons of well-off families. He reminded Sasuke not to do anything that would damage Lord Joseph's reputation. Every morning and evening, they would still spar twice as before. At this moment, Joseph's mother Oksana also arrived. She had come to thank Sasuke for saving her child's life. Her graceful noblewoman's appearance was something even the madam of the brothel could not compare with. The innocent Sasuke flushed red all at once. She praised Sasuke, saying his hair color was beautiful and matched his blue eyes very well. Only, he was too thin. It would be better if he gained a little more weight. I'll make you a set of clothes soon. Sasuke nervously expressed his thanks. Afterward, Oksana left. Giles teased Sasuke for having such a side too, though in truth even he himself was a little nervous around Oksana. After that little interlude, Sasuke went to the dining hall for breakfast. But accidents always came unexpectedly. At lunch, a glob of thick phlegm landed in Sasuke's soup. Several attendants stared at him with ill intent. The leader gave a mocking apology. He said he had smelled garbage and thought this was the trash can. Sasuke had expected this sort of thing to happen, though it was earlier than he imagined. He picked up that glob of phlegm. Calmly, he flicked it away, and resumed eating as if nothing had happened. For a moment, the leading man did not even know what to do with that reaction. Sasuke, meanwhile, was considering how to deal with him without ruining Lord Joseph's reputation. He asked what the cursing man's name was. The man was just about to mock him again. Sasuke turned back and looked at him, asking once more. The frightening pressure made the man tremble. Stammering, he said his name was Sovani. Sasuke recorded the name in his mind. The next day, the Count passed by the training ground. On a whim, he decided to watch the attendants training for a moment. Blonde Sasuke stood out especially. Giles was also observing from the shadows. Then let's see what this fellow is capable of. With one slash, Sasuke struck at Sovani's follower. His strength was making real progress every single day. Trash like this was beneath notice in his eyes. The Count could see that Sasuke's swordsmanship was still rough, but there were still things worth praising. Though rough, he was still earnestly trying to apply what he had learned, and that was admirable. This was the sword spirit's teaching. All swordsmanship begins with footwork. If one could use the position of the feet, the shoulders, and the eyes to confuse the opponent, then one could subdue them through motion. Sasuke easily dodged the opponent's sword, and with one strike rendered him unable to move. He grabbed this follower of Sovani. He was the one laughing hardest in the dining hall yesterday. Try laughing again now. Sasuke's fist smashed hard into his face, and his punches came down like a rainstorm. The Count watched the scene calmly. If one wanted to become a knight, one still needed that bit of sharpness. Giles also showed a satisfied expression. Only after the other man had completely lost consciousness did Sasuke stop punching. Sasuke apologized as well, saying that he had gotten too absorbed, that he was always slow to come back to himself, so he might as well apologize in advance too. I will not let this go. If your soup ever isn't salty enough, I'll come find you, then come spit into it for me. Only then did Sovani realize he had provoked someone he never should have. Lord Joseph brought back a mad dog from the back alleys. The next day, Sasuke ate in the dining hall. Now no one dared to bother him. A chubby little boy greeted them with a trembling voice. He introduced himself as Portly, wanting to say something yet not daring to spit it out. Sasuke told him either sit down or get lost, since the hesitation was ruining his appetite. Portly was delighted and thanked Sasuke for letting him sit down. In fact, Sasuke had meant for him to get lost. Portly had always eaten alone in places like the bathroom. Sasuke got annoyed that he was saying things like this while he himself was tasting rare sausage. Portly proudly said that his father supplied the goods and that all the meat here was provided by his family. Seeing how much Sasuke liked the sausage, he wanted to give him more. What are you talking about? You think if you do that, I'll just... The next second, Sasuke regretted those words. Portly's father sent him a huge pile of delicious sausages. All the attendants here were sons of privileged families, so it would be better to build at least some connections in this place. He invited Portly to eat together from now on. Portly immediately beamed with joy. Since we're all attendants, we should get along, right? It's not all because of the sausages. After several days, Giles was feeling somewhat tired from both serving Lord Joseph and training a person at the same time. He could only wait until the other two knights recovered before he could catch his breath. At that moment, Sir Greg called out to him. The two first exchanged a few pleasantries. Greg brought up the matter concerning the attendants. If knights intervened, it would be easy to make things awkward for both sides. He had heard that Sasuke had recently been getting close to Portly. That boy was his grandnephew, and he could not let him be bullied all day long. He hoped Giles could pass on the message and just let Sasuke stay close to Portly more often. If the matter was resolved smoothly, Greg promised that Giles could call on him once. Sasuke was still troubled by the fact that he could not get onto a horse. The moment he approached, they all ran away. It had always been like this. In general, animals would get startled as soon as he drew near. Suddenly, Sasuke thought of something. On the night of fleeing the dead, he had ridden Sir Giles' horse, but that horse was especially expensive. I can only ride expensive horses. Sasuke was in no position to say something like that. Sir Giles had instructed him that he absolutely had to learn horsemanship. At that moment, a maid delivered an invitation from Lady Oksana. She gave Sasuke the clothes she had personally made. Sasuke stood stiffly in place. Sasuke was still growing, and Joseph had also grown quite a bit taller at this age. When summer came, she would make Sasuke some other clothes too. Sasuke sincerely expressed his gratitude. Oksana apologized for interrupting his training. This was the first time Sasuke had ever worn such comfortable clothes. He truly felt unaccustomed to them, as if he did not belong here. It felt like growing flesh, only it was flesh attached to the soul. At that moment, noisy sounds came from outside the window. Sasuke looked outside, and saw Sovani wildly humiliating Portly. Mocking him, he said birds of a feather flocked together. No matter where one went, any place inhabited by people was the same. In the end, everywhere was full of people who bullied the weak and feared the strong. It seemed today he would have to wear his old clothes after all. That night, Sasuke knocked on Portly's door. He had come to ask Portly for something. Sasuke pointed inward with his hand. It was the ham that Portly could hardly bear to eat himself. He had originally thought that even if they could not become friends, at least they could become acquaintances who nodded when meeting. It seems Sasuke also only saw him as someone from whom he could casually mooch meat. But even that was better than eating alone. He gave the ham to Sasuke. Sasuke told him not to feel too wronged. "This is the payment you deserve." Those were words spoken by a knight he knew. "So 14 of you came just to deal with me alone? Even the thugs in the back alleys wouldn't be this despicable. So hurry up and come at me." Sovani's group swarmed him all at once. Sasuke was glad he had changed clothes before coming. After all, it would be bad if the new clothes got splattered with blood. These rich boys who had practiced swordsmanship for years were like chickens and dogs before Sasuke of the slums, who had learned swordsmanship for only 2 months. The leading Sovani threatened that whoever retreated would be killed. Sasuke charged toward him disdainfully. "You talk as if you've ever killed anyone." Sasuke easily dodged Sovani's sword. Giles' training was showing results. The sword spirit reminded him to keep the enemy trapped within the distance under his own control. During the battle, Sasuke gradually grasped his own distance and space. This was a swordsmanship that belonged to him alone. Just as Sasuke was about to deliver a fatal strike, Sovani let out a deafening wail. If Sasuke's sword had deviated even slightly, he would have died. He warned Sovani never to make eye contact with him again and never to touch the chubby boy again. Sovani was too terrified to speak and could only nod desperately, because he knew that this guy truly intended to kill him. "Get up, the payment for that ham is now repaid. Who's next? I still have to finish what needs to be done. If you won't come at me, then I'll come at you." Step by step, Sasuke walked toward the remaining lackeys. They were so frightened that they had even lost the courage to run. For a time, screams rose and fell one after another. From upstairs, the Count watched everything calmly. "That brat seems rather outstanding." The next day, Bayez had held the monthly meeting among the knights. Though not intentionally, they were still divided into 3 camps: those who supported Rutger, those who followed Joseph, and the neutral knights. Today, however, the atmosphere was completely different. The knights supporting Rutger all wore expressions of burning rage, while Joseph's camp, where Sasuke belonged, was especially delighted. After all, Joseph's knights had been suppressed for a very long time. After the meeting ended, one of Rutger's knights said Giles had really brought back a ferocious dog that bit wildly. Giles said nothing and merely kept smiling. Greg of the neutral camp had also heard that Sasuke had made a great show of himself. As promised, he would allow Giles to call on him once. "That brat did something remarkable. After all, I'm the one who taught him. He ought to perform like that." The Count sent over a set of armor. It was a gift for Sasuke. It was made of the rare hide of a gray half-orc. It seemed that fellow had earned the Count's recognition in just 1 month. Joseph could not stay idle either. It was time to carry out the next plan. They were about to depart for the city of Del Mar. The Hainer family of Del Mar was going through a succession dispute. An invitation from the legitimate heir was no different from a distress signal. Sasuke sighed that the world of nobles was truly complicated. After all, blood relatives turning against each other had long been a noble tradition. Alicia was the legitimate heir of the Hainer family, yet her uncle Endra claimed she was an illegitimate child, because if she disappeared, the Count's position would belong to Endra. Although Alicia was the only daughter of the previous Count, the limitations of her gender left her foundation weak. In the end, she could only prove her innocence through a duel of honor presided over by the church. The Hainer family was merely a distant relative of Joseph's mother's side, with very thin blood ties, but if they could seize this chance and make the Hainer family owe them a favor, his father had agreed. Only then did Sasuke realize just how extraordinary Giles was. He was actually such an outstanding knight that a family head would hire him to entrust his own honor to him. Giles noticed Sasuke's look and demanded, "Your knight rides ahead, while you, a mere attendant, sit comfortably in a carriage. Does that make you happy? You strut around all day bullying other attendants, and yet you still can't even mount a horse. That really leaves one speechless." "Expensive horses, I guess I can probably ride those." Giles roared. "Expensive horses should be riding you instead. They're worth more than you are." At that moment, Sasuke's heart began beating wildly for no reason. Recently this had happened often. Could it be because he was always being picked on? Lord Joseph before him kept trying to talk to him every moment, while Sir Giles would pick at him every chance he got. Suddenly, the ground began shaking violently. Giles ordered everyone to dismount. Sasuke kicked open the carriage door and pulled Joseph down to the ground. Joseph was momentarily bewildered as well. He reminded Sasuke not to panic too much. The shaking quickly stopped. This was Sasuke's first time experiencing such a tremor. Joseph corrected him, that wasn't an earthquake. That was the remains of a fallen dragon, a deathworm. Remains of a dragon? That's so cool. 2 days later, the group arrived at Del Mar, the only city of the Hainer family. Joseph told Sasuke he could move freely. A duel of honor was a rare spectacle, which also meant that knights of all kinds of backgrounds had gathered here. Joseph told Sasuke to spar with them and learn as much as he could. No matter how much theory one was taught, it was not as good as seeing it with one's own eyes. Giles warned him, just don't get taught a lesson somewhere. Sasuke believed he was not weak enough for that. But since he could not even ride a horse, he had already lost Giles' trust. At the end, Joseph reminded him to make a report every evening. After being without free time for so long, Sasuke planned to look around. The mansion here looked very old, and smaller than the Bayezid mansion as well. As Sasuke passed a certain place, the sword at his waist let out a hum. The sword spirit felt as though he had been here before. He remembered the tree on the hillside over there. It seemed that after a long while, he needed a place to pray again. Until now Sasuke had only been receiving the sword spirit's guidance, now it was his turn to repay him. Joseph finished meeting with Lady Alicia. The two first exchanged pleasantries. Count Bayezid had already agreed, and now they were only waiting for Lady Alicia to decide. She agreed to the Count's condition, on the premise that she had to win the duel. Joseph told her she could rest assured, because Bayezid's swords had always been undefeated. After the meeting ended, the three of them realized that woman could not be underestimated. Though trapped in a desperate situation, she had not yielded a single bit of initiative from beginning to end. Even so, their plan would not change. In the end, only memories could continue on. Looking at the gravestone before him, Sasuke thought that if possible, he would like to make something like this for his mother too. It looks like no one is taking care of this place. Sasuke brushed away the fallen leaves on the gravestone. He asked the sword spirit whether greeting the masters of this land was proper etiquette. The sword spirit said he had not said anything of the sort. Sasuke drew his sword, and once more entered the posture of prayer. The sword spirit slowly appeared behind him. The tree in his memory seemed a bit shorter. When had he come here, exactly? The thing gazing from the front seemed to recognize the sword spirit. The sword spirit asked Sasuke if he could borrow his body for a while. If it's only temporary, then of course you can. The sword spirit smoothly entered Sasuke's body. Aura clung to his right eye. Sasuke saw something terrifying. It was a huge white snake. The sword spirit corrected him, this is a spirit. I've really seen way too many strange things lately. The white snake stared at Sasuke, or rather, at the sword spirit inside Sasuke. Though unfamiliar and immense, it gave off no sense of threat at all. Instead, it felt warm, and the hillside seemed wrapped in spring. At that moment, someone behind Sasuke asked who he was. The aura in his eyes quickly faded, and the figure of the white snake became illusory as well. The person behind him questioned why Sasuke had come here. This place was forbidden to everyone except members of the Hainer family. Sasuke apologized and said he had only wanted to find a place where he could pray quietly. He took out his identity plate to prove that he was the attendant of Knight Giles. The woman seemed to accept the explanation. For a moment, silence fell. Standing beside a noble's grave really was discourteous after all. If this woman said something careless, it might create trouble for Lord Joseph. He had to do something to keep her mouth shut. Sasuke asked whether she needed help. Seeing that she was probably a maid here, she must have come to tend the grave, right? Sasuke said he had already tidied up a little in advance. Because I felt that greeting the owners of this land was proper etiquette. He took the tools from the maid's hands and said he would do the work for her. A little embarrassed, he asked the maid not to tell anyone about today's events. The maid could not help laughing lightly. Well, that depends on how hard you scrub. Damn it, I knew beautiful women are never easy to deal with. Sasuke scrubbed the gravestone with all his might. Seeing how foolishly earnest he looked, the maid laughed again. The glow of the setting sun fell over their shoulders, especially warm. The next day, Sasuke watched the sparring among knights. They were far stronger than he had expected. The sword spirit judged that if Sasuke were struck, his bones would probably be cut through. No wonder Sir Clin was called the Central Earth Boar. Still, Sasuke felt that Sir Pablo's shield technique was even more outstanding. Tomorrow was the duel, yet even this warm-up spar was so intense. Although all of them were called knights, Sir Bodinar's level was completely incomparable to theirs. When he had been in Shoyara, Sasuke had not really understood, but now he seemed to grasp where exactly he stood in this vast world. The road ahead was truly long and heavy. On the day of the duel, Sasuke helped Giles put on his armor. Indra, who intended to seize his niece's inheritance, also appeared. Giles reminded Sasuke to watch carefully because it was not often one got to see a duel treated seriously by knights. Besides, though I don't know what happened yesterday, there's no need for you to be anxious. Sasuke was surprised at how he knew. Giles said, all your emotions are written on your face. Because after seeing the knight's strength, without any exaggeration, they really were like monsters. A brat has to learn to walk first before he earns the right to run. The greater your goal, the longer the road to it. Sasuke seemed to understand. At that moment, the Lord of Hainer entered the arena. Sasuke had not seen her even once before. Isn't that the woman from the graveyard yesterday? The sword spirit mocked Sasuke that he was about to add another count of insulting and noble to his list. As Alicia passed by Sasuke, she glanced at him, her gaze cold and devoid of emotion. Cold sweat broke out all over Sasuke, and he hurriedly saluted. Lady Alicia, head of the house, was majestic and sacred beyond compare. The priest followed procedure with a prayer and announced the matters. The duel that wagered everything was about to begin. A glorious yet cruel duel. The blood of nobles was pale blue because they bore responsibilities, obligations, and karma that warm red blood could not shoulder. Yet Alicia had not prepared herself to become cold-blooded, so in the first round, she chose to surrender, protecting Sir Duncan, who was about to die in battle. A knight's dignity would not allow him to surrender. It's not over yet. But his lord tossed out her handkerchief and surrendered. Sir Shard said, that was a splendid contest, Captain. Am I still your captain? He had originally been nurtured with the hope that he would become the future of the Hainer family. Yet who could have imagined that he would turn into a sword slashing at his own lord? What sorrow! The victory in this duel belongs to Sir Shard, Knight of Mr. Indra. Please let the next pair of representatives step forward. The priest emphasized that the use of aura was forbidden. Giles turned back and signaled Sasuke. Watch carefully, brat who wants to run before he can even walk steadily. Today's lesson is here. The teaching material is the central earth boar. The other side's sword power was heavy and fierce, just one step apart. Sir Clint believed he had a complete chance of victory. A little faster, a little stronger. Sir Clint's sword grew more and more ferocious, and in the eyes of the audience he seemed to hold an overwhelming advantage. Sir Pablo knew it was not that simple. Could it be that none of these people saw how strangely unnatural the battle had become? Surely even the man swinging the sword had already sensed it. Why then could he not reach him? Giles spoke in a foreign language to tell him, try a little harder. Clint immediately became somewhat hot-headed. When one lost composure, openings would often appear. The sword spirit reminded Sasuke to watch closely. What comes next is what's about to be shown to you. Giles' sword struck at a bizarre angle and knocked the other man's sword flying. The sword spirit explained, that is an unavoidable opening created when the attack point is forcibly displaced. This is the art of counterattack. In other words, when blocking the opponent's initiative, you then launch a follow-up attack based on the opening they reveal. The outcome was already decided. Only then did Clint realize that they were not on the same level at all. He was simply a wall that could never be overcome, no matter what. I surrender. The victory in this duel belongs to Lady Alicia's representative, Sir Giles, Knight. Did you see it clearly, brat? I did. Thank you. The priest announced the start of the final duel. On Indra's side was Pablo of Arnston, and on Alicia's side was Jewel of Shazer. The sword spirit side that Alicia had indeed brought in a powerful reinforcement. In terms of strength, Jewel was stronger than Pablo and Clint. Jewel glanced at Alicia. Alicia wondered what was wrong. At that moment, however, Jewel made a strange gesture toward her. Joseph was somewhat puzzled for a moment as well. Why is he saying farewell? As the representative of the Shazer family, Jewel actually decided to forfeit this duel. No one on Alicia's side understood why. Joseph had already roughly guessed the reason. Indra applauded and said that if he forfeited, then the battle was over. So the other side was actually holding 4 cards? Now can you admit before God that only I am the sole legitimate bloodline of the Hainer family? Joseph stood up and declared, the duel is not over yet. I fully understand your feelings, but Alicia's knight has forfeited, so the duel is indeed over. I do not accept it, so the duel cannot end. This is the result you decided on. Bayezid will never accept it obediently. One of Indra's men reminded him that they might as well hear what Joseph had to say first. Joseph stood in the position of a representative of the northern leading families, while the knights on this side were all men of the central region. This could very well develop into friction between the central and northern regions. Indra asked Joseph what exactly he wanted. Joseph understood that if there was no best choice, then at the very least the worst outcome had to be avoided. Right now, only by facing clear defeat, which might bring the second worst outcome, could they then make long-term plans? Please allow us to continue participating in the duel. But do you still have anyone who can replace Sir Jewel? Alicia only had Duncan as a supporter, and the invited guests could not bring too many knights, so the duel fundamentally could not proceed. After a moment of thought, Joseph answered, "We do. I, Joseph of the Bayezid family, decide to appoint a substitute to enter the field. The one who will fight for Lady Alicia's honor is." His fingertip pointed towards someone impossible, Sasuke of Shoyara. But he is not a knight. He doesn't have the qualification. Joseph said, as long as he is a swordsman, anyone may participate in a duel of honor. But his opponent is a knight. Sending an attendant onto the field is an act that disgraces Arnsten's honor. When you did this kind of thing, did you ever consider the Bayezid family's honor? To dare toy with Bayezid using such tricks, his honor will be guaranteed by me. What can a mere attendant accomplish? After thinking it over, Endra gave up arguing. Even Sasuke himself was a little dazed at the thought that he was about to duel a knight. I probably won't lose my life, right? Giles said that if the very worst situation occurred, he would intervene. And if it's only just the worst situation? Sasuke thought to himself, why has he gone silent? Joseph stopped Sasuke and gave him a big hug. Sasuke said, you don't have to do this. Joseph quietly told him, just hold on for 10 minutes. We came prepared. He had already counted on Bodinar. Sasuke asked him, 10 minutes is enough? Longer would of course be even better. Understood. I'll do my best to hold on. Be careful. Sasuke stepped forward and saluted Alicia. She nodded in response. The final duel began. I am Sasuke of Shoyara. To make him duel an attendant was an insult to him. Pablo threw aside his shield. You are not qualified to hear me state my name. From the moment you, who never had the qualification, stepped onto this field, this ceased to be a duel of honor. Sasuke hated that thing called qualification. Back in the ruined back alleys, whenever he gazed at the distant splendor, he would think, why is it that only you get to monopolize those beautiful, dazzling things? Even if I was born in a place without qualification, I do not want to spend my life in mediocrity. In what way am I unqualified? What difference is there between me and you? Pablo sneered that Bayezid had really fallen low. Sasuke said nothing and stared at him fixedly. Disdainfully, Pablo said, ignoring the rules of the duel is fine too. Use all your strength and fight desperately. I will strangle your arrogance in the cradle. On this very day, the boy obtained the qualification to shine. Their swords intertwined. Sasuke's blade trembled and emitted strange sounds. This was the first time in his life that he had drawn his sword and charged for someone else rather than for himself. The sword spirit reminded him to attack the opponent's left side where he used to hold the shield, because habit was a frightening thing. His sword was so fast that the others finally realized this brat was no ordinary person. Pablo also sensed Sasuke's extraordinary talent. He was just a brat, yet his eyes shone with terrifying intensity, like a hungry wolf. It seemed he had to get a little serious now. Pablo's sword was unstoppable, but Sasuke still received it. It felt as if his body had been smashed by a boulder. Pablo mocked Sasuke, have you already used up everything you've got? He attacked Sasuke as if toying with him. The sword spirit reminded Sasuke not to block head-on and to find ways to deflect instead. The gap in strength between the two was simply too large. Sasuke was sent flying away with no effort at all. He only felt as if his body was about to break apart from pain. Pablo slowly walked to stand before Sasuke. He admitted that Sasuke really was outstanding. But you are still far from enough. You brat, you truly do possess the qualification to dare challenge me. It's a pity we had to meet under these circumstances. Come challenge me again another day. Even the sword spirit thought Sasuke was bound to lose and comforted him, saying, you've worked hard. But Sasuke blocked that sword. Giles, who had been preparing to intervene, stopped his body. Another development beyond expectations. That brat always managed to bring surprises. How is that possible? Is that the art of counterattack? A mere attendant had actually intercepted a knight's sword. It must be accidental, right? By now, Sasuke could hardly even lift his sword. It made no sense. Even Pablo, who was crossing swords with him, found it hard to accept. Sasuke began murmuring, why? Why is it only you? Pablo could see that Sasuke's spirit had begun to drift. He kept muttering, I also want. Isn't he losing his senses? Or could it be he has dreamed himself into some place from his memory? A boy without qualification was at every moment yearning to bloom brilliantly. He wanted power, longed for opportunity to come, had always dreamed of gaining qualification, and of going to a glittering place. I also want to stay there. I want to become a splendid flower no one has ever seen, to bloom beautifully. Their swords clashed once more. What exactly was happening? A large amount of blood gushed from Sasuke's hand. Guile had only meant for him to solidify his fundamentals, not for him to imitate that move and actually display it. Yet he had already begun to use it. The sharpness of the blade disappeared, replaced instead by a full and resolute will. This is truly interesting. What kind of will is it that he is pursuing? Sasuke's sword actually began to hum. Pablo was completely shaken. Is this brat about to bloom? If that is the case, he could only fulfill the duty of a knight and block it, and then call forth the world where your flower will bloom. What was that thing? A strange light began to shine from Sasuke's sword. That is a sign. What in the world is happening to him? Pablo roared, "Give me my shield." He re-equipped his strongest weapon. The blade struck his shield heavily. I am Pablo of Arnston, boy who has obtained qualification. Tell me your name. Though born in a place without qualification, boy whose steps still move toward brilliance, you have proven that you are qualified. I am. Say it quickly. Sasuke of Shoyara. The dazzling brilliance stabbed people's eyes so fiercely they could hardly keep them open. Pablo too summoned forth his world. Come, Sasuke of Shoyara. Carrying his own world, Sasuke crashed into Pablo's world. Even though the result had already been decided, Pablo revealed a smile. You've worked hard, Mr. Sasuke. Sasuke quietly fell asleep. Andra loudly shouted, "That was Aura. Aura is forbidden in the duel. That fellow violated the rules. Shallow fool, as you gaze upon a beautiful flower before you, all you think about is the fruit that will come after it withers?" Joseph and Guile stepped forward and thanked Sir Pablo for fulfilling a knight's duty. I too am honored to have witnessed this moment. Joseph asked the priest, "Was that Aura?" Indeed, that much cannot be denied. Then between the rules of the sacred duel and the code of the swordmaster, which concept holds higher authority? For a moment, the priest did not know how to answer. Swordmaster was a title of honor possessed by only one person in all human history, and there was also a corresponding code attached to it. That code was both honor and duty, and was also connected to royal authority. Now that the code and the rules had collided, no one present could declare whether honor or duty came first. I believe this matter should be reported to the Holy See and the royal court. Before a clear decision is made there, the result of the duel should be temporarily reserved. All young and immature people in this world have the qualification to bloom flowers. Possibility is a beautiful thing, and children who can manifest it as their own world are precious. Therefore, you should protect such moments. All who hold swords of glory, swear in my name that you will fulfill your duties. That is the first code of Prausen, sword master and founder. After an unknown amount of time, Sasuke woke up in bed. Still half conscious, he asked the god beside him for water. For some reason, this time Got's movements were especially elegant. Right now Sasuke only felt that all the joints in his body were aching. A voice that did not belong to Got startled him fully awake in an instant. Joseph smiled and said, "It seems you've recovered your strength. That's wonderful." Sasuke apologized to Joseph. He told Sasuke there was no need to be nervous. Joseph admitted that he had never expected Sasuke to perform so astonishingly. "Thanks to you, the duel has been reserved." In other words, no result had been reached, and it had been postponed. The rules of the sacred duel had become entangled with the code of the swordmaster, making the situation very complicated. The code of the swordmaster? Sasuke remembered that the voice in his head had once mentioned it to him. Joseph said that if one wanted to become a knight, one had to swear according to the code of the swordmaster. If things are resolved satisfactorily, sooner or later you too will have the chance to swear. The word knight was originally one that would only appear in Sasuke's dreams. Joseph hoped Sasuke would take good care of his body, because if they stayed here too long, it would become troublesome. Sasuke said he was fine and could get up immediately now. Joseph interrupted him and said that would not do. I am, after all, someone who knows how to cherish talent. Guests of the Hainer family were already leaving one after another. Alicia felt somewhat regretful that she had not managed to properly give them a warning. Andra had also slipped away, because with the result reserved, he had applied through the priest for personal protection from the church. Alicia was displeased that she could only allow the people who intended to ruin her to leave safely. Sir Duncan said, "Let us discuss it after tomorrow. When the situation is chaotic, time is needed for things to become solid. What matters now is to completely secure Del Mar. And this year's lemon harvest was not very good either." Alicia proposed, "Then should we simply expand the wheat fields further?" Sir Duncan suggested that it would be better to observe a little longer, since changing the industrial structure was not something that could be solved lightly. Alicia also understood that under the current circumstances, it truly would be a burdensome decision. Now she had the feeling that after just overcoming a mountain-like hardship, another mountain was already waiting for her. Suddenly, she noticed something downstairs. She asked Sir Duncan, "Knights are normally able to ride horses, right?" Duncan answered, "Of course. If one cannot ride a horse, one cannot be called a knight. Horsemanship is as important as swordsmanship." Alicia smiled and said, "Sure enough, when God opens one door, he closes one window." Sir Duncan curiously leaned out to see what she was observing. Seeing the scene, Sir Duncan could immediately feel just how troubled Sir Giles must be. Once again, Sasuke fell off the horse with a loud thud. Giles strangely asked him, "Didn't you say you could ride expensive horses?" Somewhat guilty, Sasuke said in a low voice, "Does that mean it needs to be an even more expensive one?" Annoyed, Giles punched him and told him to think before speaking. But Sasuke said that the previous time he had clearly mounted successfully, although that horse had been controlled by Got. Got also chimed in from the side, confirming this answer. Only then did Giles realize the seriousness of the problem. He had thought that if he taught Sasuke personally, Sasuke would surely learn. Giles wondered, is it really the horse's problem? Even his own horse was edging backward while studying Sasuke's expression. It was as if some terrifying presence stood before it. Giles said that would be enough for today. Sasuke asked whether they would train again tomorrow, and Giles answered that there would be no training tomorrow either. Sasuke was somewhat displeased and asked when exactly he was supposed to learn to ride a horse. Giles decided, let's reserve it for now. Helplessly, Sasuke had come here only to hear this phrase more than anything else. After all, this was not a problem that could be solved in one attempt. Giles decided to think about it again after returning to Sturma, since he still had business to attend to today. Got also did not know why, but the longer time passed, the less willing these horses seemed to be. Sasuke worried that if even more expensive horses did not work, what then? Got suggested with a wicked grin that maybe he should try riding a cow instead. With a headache, Sasuke said, "What nonsense are you talking about? Think before you speak." Then, with a bad smile, Got told Sasuke to just keep mooching carriage rides, since Sir Giles would surely dote on him very much. Got now had to return the noble horses to the stables. The sword spirit reminded Sasuke that perhaps he was simply too aggressive in bearing, and animals were more sensitive to such things. He had to learn how to control his aura of presence. That was one of the methods of mastering the inner world. Only one who could use aura freely could properly control such presence. But for Sasuke now, it was still difficult to summon aura of his own accord, and his aura was still very weak. He had heard that after tomorrow's farewell ceremony, they would return to Sturma. He asked the sword spirit whether he wanted to go see that place one last time. Sir Jules' mission had counted as a failure. Still, he thought his lord would probably understand too. After all, one could not blame the sea simply because the waves were rough, because that counted as a disaster, after all. The more Jules thought about it, the more speechless he became. A mere attendant. His steps suddenly halted. A flash of cold light appeared before his eyes. Displeased, Jules said, "Isn't this way of greeting a little too excessive? You didn't have to do this." Giles coldly told him, "I insist on doing exactly this." Jules asked, "Don't you think it's a waste to spend your vacation on something like this?" Giles answered coldly, "Vacation is exactly when one does the things left unfinished." Jules understood his resentment, but he too was helpless. What a pity. We're all in the same line of work. You should understand this difficulty. Giles' aura suddenly erupted as he said in a deep voice, "It can't be helped. When the master says bite, then one has to bite." Both men used aura and stood in silent confrontation for a moment. Jules let out a light laugh and asked, "Surely a warning like this should already be effective enough, right? Although others call us swords, in truth that isn't the case. Nor are you merely a dog who bites only when ordered by your lord. When you've made enough trouble, go enjoy your vacation. If blood is spilled, then the declaration of war from the Shazer family." Before Jules had finished speaking, his face was hit heavily. Giles' fist smashed hard into his face. He said that his lord had a good personality, so it was fine to bite just a little. Jules praised him, saying, "Then you really are fortunate. Do you feel better now?" Giles still felt it was not quite enough. Jules took another heavy punch and fell to the ground in disgrace. Giles coldly said, "We're all in the same line of work. You'll understand this difficulty, won't you?" Jules knew that this time he truly had it coming. Giles hoped to see him again next time, because in this setting he could not make him pay the price for toying with his lord. Jules told him, "We'll meet again soon." The empire is loosening. This is no longer an age in which hearts can be united as one wishes. Then until we meet again soon. Giles also understood that in this era more than at any other, what was needed was the arrival of a true sword. Sasuke told the sword spirit to have a good talk with what seemed to be his old friend. The sword spirit too was shocked that the white snake had recognized him. If they ran into Lady Alicia again, that would be bad, so Sasuke told him to finish meeting quickly and leave. As strange aura shone from within Sasuke's pupils, he saw that white snake spirit once again. Sasuke worried, it really is a friend, right? The sword spirit hoped so as well. The spirit slowly coiled around Sasuke. A little bewildered, he asked the sword spirit, this should mean a happy greeting, right? At present, that was apparently the only way to understand it. The spirit gazed at Sasuke, then suddenly began to laugh. Sasuke did not understand what that meant, and the sword spirit told him not to try to understand spirits. After all, they were the other side of the world. With the fragile soul of a mortal alone, one could not understand everything surrounding the world. Brilliant radiance suddenly spread from the spirit's body. Sasuke only felt warmth and peace. He looked at the changes in his body in surprise. The sword spirit also marveled, not expecting to witness forgotten mystery here. This was the blessing of a spirit. Alicia felt ashamed that she could only see everyone off in this way, as she had originally wanted to hold a grand banquet. Joseph said that her thoughtfulness alone was enough, since the Hainer family was only at the stage of just barely repairing its cracks. Alicia thanked Joseph. Then Joseph bowed and prepared to take his leave. Sir Duncan asked everyone to wait a moment and called out to Bayezid's attendant, Sasuke of Shoyara, step forward. Sasuke froze, not knowing what was happening. Joseph told him to go. They could tell that a conferral ceremony had been prepared. Sir Duncan told Sasuke that he needed to kneel. Alicia sincerely thanked Sasuke of Shoyara and said earnestly, if not for you, there would not be a me now. You upheld my honor and saved the duel that was full of deceit. No amount of thanks could fully express my gratitude. Therefore, I wish to entrust my name to you, who though not a knight, or more glorious than a knight on that day. Joseph thought to himself that, as expected, she was a clever woman. He understood that Alicia wanted to prove her relationship with Bayezid by sharing Sasuke, this dark horse. It both expressed gratitude and gained her an advantage. At a glance, Sasuke could tell it was precious, and he hesitated. May I really accept it gladly? He remembered Giles telling him that one must accept things bestowed by nobles, because that was proper etiquette. Last time he had rejected the peanuts Lord Rutger offered him, and as a result he had been scolded harshly. Sasuke thought he could not get scolded again, so he accepted the gift with both hands and thanked Lady Alicia. The onlookers immediately burst into an uproar. Joseph suddenly realized that he had not thought of this at all. That brat had grown up in the back alleys and knew almost nothing about the noble world. Sir Duncan hurriedly explained, you mustn't accept it like that. Normally, a woman would present the handkerchief symbolizing her honor in one of two ways, either hang it on the sword hilt, or personally place it into the other person's hand. The former symbolizes honor, while the latter symbolizes affection. Alicia instantly blushed bright red. Sasuke, meanwhile, wore a completely baffled expression. Listening to the stir among the crowd, Sasuke became even more confused. He did not understand why they were all reacting like that. Joseph had not felt anything this absurd in a very long time. He laughed and said, the bards around here probably won't have to worry about making a living for a while. After Sasuke understood the reason, he apologized awkwardly. Giles angrily shouted, from now on, when accepting a noble's gift, look at me first. No matter what, Joseph congratulated Sasuke. You have become the man who received the honor of a noble lady, Lady Alicia. In other words, because of this, you have stepped into the position of a squire knight. Sasuke could hardly believe it. Is that really true? Joseph explained, not only that, at least within the reach of Lady Alicia's influence, you will receive treatment equivalent to that of a knight. Sasuke simply could not believe that he could actually become a knight. However, Joseph explained that the reach of Alicia's influence was only Delmar at most, since she had just become a baroness. Only then did Sasuke understand why it was called quasi-knighthood. As expected, it could not be so easy to become a knight. Joseph instructed him that although he had obtained it by accident, he absolutely must not lose it, because it was not just a handkerchief, but Alicia's honor. Sasuke asked in confusion, what happens if I lose it? Joseph's eyes sharpened as he explained, then you alone will bear the consequences, because it was you who accepted it with both hands and created this situation. Sasuke trembled and promised he would absolutely not lose it. Although the ending had been absurd, thanks to Sasuke, Joseph no longer needed the thing in his hand. It was proof that Alicia had borrowed 10,000 gold coins. Joseph explained that if she had lost the duel, this was the means to guarantee her personal safety. If she had lost all status, Alicia had resolved to stake herself, because only that would protect her from Indra's poisonous hands. But in reality there was no debt. Sasuke did not understand. Why did you have to take Lady Alicia away? If she lost the duel, wouldn't she just lose the inheritance? Joseph said gravely, what is called legitimacy is like a spark hidden in the ashes. If the right wind blows upon it, it can reignite at any time. If a person like Alicia were in Bayezid's hands, Indra would inevitably feel immense pressure. Sasuke seemed to understand a little why nobles were so obsessed with legitimacy all their lives. Suddenly, he sharply sensed something unusual. There seemed to be some sound coming from the western woods. The woods, which had originally been silent, suddenly erupted with clouds of dust. A group of men in black charged toward the convoy. Thinking they were bandits, Sasuke immediately drew his sword. But a hand pressed him down. Joseph told him to sheath it again. That is something I prepared before the duel began. The men in black all knelt in unison before Joseph. Their leader reported to Lord Joseph, in order to collect the payment we deserved, we came a bit late. Joseph asked lightly, was it that one? Judging from the result, the borrowed strength was used elsewhere. You've worked hard. Rise. The man glanced at a certain place, and asked whether this fellow was the attendant who had caught Lady Alicia's honor in his hand. Joseph did not expect the news to spread so quickly and told the man to look after him a little in the future. At that moment, Sasuke noticed the man's gaze. For some reason, this man was staring at Sasuke with sinister eyes. The presence Sasuke sensed from him was completely incomparable to that of the knights, more like the dangerous stench that filled the back alleys. Instinct told Sasuke that he absolutely must not let his guard down around this man. Joseph asked whether, since they were returning to Sturt, they might as well travel together, but the man said they had to return even earlier. Joseph thanked them for their hard work. The man replied calmly, as Bayezid's hidden sword, we merely did what lay within our duty. Sasuke wondered what kind of people this group really was, and what exactly was in that black bag. Joseph noticed Sasuke's expression, and asked whether he wanted to know what it was. Sasuke did indeed want to know a little. In a solemn tone, Joseph explained, inside it is the world of nobles. A world of ruthlessness, of cruelty, and of people without mercy. The Count's aide reported that a group of pilgrims would be passing through Sturma. The Count asked whether they needed to be received, but the pilgrims apparently did not wish for that. They said they only wanted to pass quietly, look at the traces of the dragon, and leave. It seems they are a fine group of God's voices without desire. It had been a long time since the Count had seen pilgrims so devout. Then let us conceal it from them and make things convenient for them. After all, those who are qualified ought to have the right to enjoy it. The aide was just about to go make preparations, when the Count heard that his second son and Sasuke had completed this mission splendidly. The aide replied, yes. The report included words that made even an old man like me feel stirred. The Count also had not heard the phrase the first code of the swordmaster in a long time. It truly was nostalgic. Nowadays, nobles selected from the start a group of people with orthodox bloodlines and talent, gave them elite education, and strictly managed these rough gems. Therefore, the possibility of encountering an extreme situation that required the first code no longer really existed. In this era of carefully cultivating knights, it truly was a rare sight. Even the Count himself would certainly have been delighted to witness it. He could not help recalling the golden age of Bayezid. The Count had originally thought that Joseph, looking so strained, would soon give up. It seemed he had dug all through the mire and finally picked up something bright. The Count truly had a headache now, because in the end he could choose only one person. The attendants of Bayezid had also heard that Sasuke had returned from completing the mission. They had heard that Sasuke had dueled a knight and even created his own world. All of them found it hard to believe that a half-baked little vagrant from the back alleys had actually comprehended aura. A voice shouting hungry also entered the dining hall. It had been about a month since Sasuke had last come here. He could not help feeling puzzled. The dining hall had been so noisy just now, so why had it suddenly become so silent? Now, whether family prestige was good or bad, whether status was high or low, none of it mattered anymore, because the children's alley wars had already come to an end because one of them had stepped into a different world. Sasuke ate his sausage in irritation. This meal made him feel as though he were sitting on pins and needles. Portly estimated that this situation would probably continue for a while. After all, everyone has heard a little about what happened to you in Del Mar. Speaking of which, Portly asked Sasuke what his plans were for this vacation. Sasuke wondered, what vacation? Portly explained that there were 2 vacations every year, and all the attendants had been granted leave this week. Sasuke found it strange. I can take vacation too? But he was not a noble child anyway, and in any case he had nowhere to go. Portly immediately brightened up and invited Sasuke to his home. His father had said he wanted to formally invite him too. In fact, I've never brought a friend home before. Then it sounds like your record isn't very impressive. Portly said that his family was very welcoming to guests and could also provide unlimited freshly roasted meat. Seeing Sasuke still hesitating, Portly suddenly remembered, wasn't Sasuke looking for a horse? Their family could gather horses from all around this area. He had heard there were even some with bloodlines superior to Sir Giles' horse. On hearing this, Sasuke immediately promised he would apply for leave. Very soon, he began sparring with Giles again. Sasuke urgently closed his left eye. Seeing that, Giles seemed thoughtful. He reminded Sasuke to focus. The two sparred again. Sasuke closed his left eye once more. Giles could not help frowning. With one strike, he hit Sasuke in the waist. In a deep voice, Giles asked, I believe I told you not to do things beyond your ability, didn't I? Did dueling a knight in Del Mar make you think you were something special? To the point that you now think my words are so laughable they can simply be ignored? Sasuke had just wanted to say something, but when he saw Giles' gaze, the words instantly vanished from his lips. Sasuke quickly stood up and said, I am truly sorry. Giles said, if you're unwilling, then don't come. If you think you can do it without me, then don't come looking for me. That's enough for today. Go back. Downcast, Sasuke walked away step by step. Giles understood that Sasuke's ability to burst forth after building up strength was dazzling and impressive. But the place where it took root was no different from a beach by the sea, not solid enough, liable to be swept away and vanish under great waves at any time. It was truly rather dangerous. The sword spirit comforted Sasuke, saying, I told you to build your foundation properly. If I were him, I'd be angry too. Sasuke said he had merely wanted to try summoning it once again. The sword spirit told him that not all knights could use aura, nor did it mean that knights who could not use aura were necessarily weak. Aura merely represented the possibility of climbing to a higher place. Only on a solid foundation could excellent flowers bloom. If Giles didn't think you were promising, he probably wouldn't have gotten angry. Think carefully about what he said. Sasuke thought to himself that it would have been better if he had looked down on or mocked him as before. Just now, that gaze had been full of disappointment. That look hurt more than being hit with a wooden sword. The sword spirit reminded Sasuke that in the end, he still had not managed to speak about applying for leave. After thinking about it, Sasuke decided to forget it. In this situation, what vacation was he supposed to take? It seemed that today he would have to keep practicing the sword until all stray thoughts had disappeared. Late at night, Sasuke was still swinging his sword again and again. Now when he swung once, a clear sword path immediately appeared on the ground. The sword spirit told Sasuke that was enough for today. He had already trained enough for one day. If he burned too fast, he would only exhaust himself. If he got injured, then all the effort he had made until now would be wasted. Sasuke lifted his head, knowing the sword spirit was right. He stared at the pure moonlight, and realized that he had only just managed to grasp something shining in his hand, so he could not be too hasty. From not far away, Giles watched him quietly. Following Sasuke's gaze, he looked up, and immaculate moonlight shone selflessly upon everyone, including Trino, the war-torn county of Lavnoma. Desperate wails rose and fell one after another. Scattered corpses lay everywhere in pieces. A cold voice said, I wondered where you had gone. Have you fulfilled your final duty? The sword-bearing man walked step by step toward the dying man. The man roared, so in the end you still came here, Godin? The man asked, if the Lord's command comes first and one's own honor second, doesn't that mean one is not required to obey orders unconditionally? The knights of the previous Count Gadel did not do so either. Godin answered in a deep voice, that is why they all died. The man told Godin, one day, your light too will disappear. Remember to tell Count Gadel that I will be waiting for him in hell. Godin coldly uttered a single word, fine. Tonight, the moonlight was especially bright.